them there. We a top man, we take charge. Magnum we drink and we a shell down bars. Blast like a star with some a gal a bar. Overdo it, we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We a hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man then. Wine with the style, no stop from spin. Hot blend, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine for the real star them. Take charge, take charge. Must be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Good morning, St Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Voices right here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devonne Cornelius. Let me just say good morning to all of you who have joined us via the Facebook and YouTube live streams, as well as Mixlr, the website, and of course via the radio. Don't forget we have that WhatsApp number, 662-2204. We have been receiving a number of messages and comments from our listeners via the WhatsApp number, so keep it coming, especially if you don't have credit in your phone to make a call. We welcome you via the WhatsApp number. But good morning, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of Voices for today. Today is the 5th day of March, 2021. Yes, we are in March. So I'm here to have a conversation with Miss Margaret Stevens, but today I'll just be calling her Margaret. And we'll be having a conversation around your diet, and we will link it to mental health. Margaret Stevens is a clinical dietitian, and so she would be able to provide some professional advice. I've been doing some research, Margaret, so I have, a little document to guide me.
Okay.
But you are the professional here, so you would be able to, give your professional advice and more information on what we will be discussing today. Margaret, the listeners want to hear from you. Tell them who you are.
Good morning. I think most of them know who I am by now. So my name is Margaret Stevens. I'm a clinical dietitian. I've worked at JNF. I've worked at Alexandra Hospital, and I currently have private practice now at Victoria Road. And basically, I just deal with people that have communicable and non-communicable diseases. So, dietitians deal with people that are in a state of unwellness. So I normally see people who have diabetes, hypertension, kidney failure, as well as mental health and other disorders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know for a fact that in that line of work, you meet a lot of people.
Yes.
And you come across different personalities and different ethnic groups of people. But again, we're here to talk about the links between mental health and your diet and what you eat. It says a lot about you.
Yes.
And in return, how you how you act, to be frank,
Yeah.
you know, how you act. So as I said earlier, I was doing some research and I came across some very interesting facts
Okay.
that I did not even know. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I did not even know that. It says what you eat directly affects the structure and function of your brain
Yes.
and ultimately your mood.
Yes. I mean, that's from conception, really. You know, what the mother eats during pregnancy can also affect the fetus brain
Right.
and its development. You know, that's why, you know, when you attend your first appointment with your doctor, the first thing he does is prescribe you a lot of vitamins, what we call the pregnancy vitamins, that contain, you know, folic acid, and that helps all the the brain to formulate
Right.
and have its structure, the proper structure that it needs. So, you know, it starts from there.
Definitely.
Yes.
So essentially, what you eat says a lot about who you are.
Yes. Yes.
Because I mean, it's like I know it might sound weird, but you could tell when someone is, I don't know, a vegetarian. You could tell when
No.
someone deals with
No. No. I have to disagree with you there.
Definitely. How?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Those are the sort of preconceptions that, you know, all vegetarians are mega thin and healthy. I've been a vegetarian for 35 years.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Okay. So it is a myth, and we'll deal with that another time. But primarily what you eat really does dictate how you look, and that we're going to talk about eating, but also that means fluid as well. So, you know, so if you're dehydrated, it can affect your mood because you're depriving your brain of all the fluid that it needs. If you are dehydrated, it's affecting your kidneys, your liver, your muscles, so your whole body. And then food has an effect as well. So if you have a diet that's high in sugar, so you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, and on your way out you grab a bread and cheese and a soda, that's going to affect your mood. Because when you put all of this refined sugar into your body, yes, you have that momentary high and that burst of energy, but then you crash very quickly. And it's the crash that does the damage.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I hope if you're listening, you're tuned in, because Margaret, a lot of people they do that,
Yeah.
and I must confess, sometimes I am guilty of it, because you're rushing to get to work, and you would probably stop by the bakery or stop by a village shop, and you buy maybe not a soda, but like a fruit juice. And these, in my opinion, these fruit juices, they're kind of dangerous because they have
Yes.
a lot of sugar.
I mean, some of the bottled ones contain 2.5 servings, but you drink that in one go.
Yeah.
So if that's 36 grams of sugar in 2.5 servings, that's a lot of sugar.
A lot of sugar.
The same with the sodas. That's 2 servings in that bottle. And some of them, you know, the sugar content ranges from around 29 grams of sugar, which is about 6 teaspoons to 36 grams of sugar, which is like 9 teaspoons. So, you know, look at it in terms of sugar. Just take a teaspoon and put out 9 teaspoons of sugar and look at it. That's what you're throwing down really easily. Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, it gives you that high, it gives you that burst of energy, and then you crash. So then you drink another one, and you crash again. And you have that pattern throughout the day.
But you know, and as I said before, Margaret, a lot of people are guilty of doing that. And for one reason, it may be because you don't have the time to make a proper breakfast, to make some tea, to get something hot and healthy in your body first thing in the morning. And 2, it may just be because they just don't care. Because, you know, some people just, they eat any and everything and they just don't care.
Yes, yeah.
What you say about that?
I mean, we all have free will, and we're all able to make our own choices. But at the end of the day, if you're a parent and that is your lifestyle, you're passing that on to your children.
Right.
And then they don't have a choice, because then they perpetuate it and they pass it on to their children. So then you end up with a family that has diabetes, has hypertension, has kidney failure, has heart disease. Because one of the questions that I ask when people come to see me, what is your family history like?
Yeah.
My mum and dad have diabetes, or my mum and dad have hypertension, and my dad died of a heart attack. So I get all of this story, and just by asking about the family history can sometimes dictate what's happening within the household.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So food becomes very important, and food is, it's how we formulate social gatherings. Social gatherings are formulated around food.
Yeah.
Because we're social people, we're social
Definitely.
animals. We thrive when we're socializing, and there's food and there's drink. And
Margaret, people would say that if you're having a social event and there is no food, then it's not a social event.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, there's something I wanted to touch on. It may be a Caribbean thing or a black people thing, but for example, when you attend Christmas parties, when you attend, a after party for a funeral or a wedding, you see a lot of food.
Yes.
And it's not just a lot of food. It's kind of a lot of the same food. So you see some rice. So you see white rice.
Yes.
Vegetable rice.
Yes.
Rice and peas.
Yes.
Black eye. Then you'll see macaroni pie.
Yes.
Lasagna. Scalloped potato.
Yes.
All that is starch.
See, now what I discovered, I never knew that black people use lasagna as a side dish.
Yes.
I never knew that until I came to live here. I was raised by my parents, and they're from St Kitts, but we always had it as a main meal, and that's what it is. It is a main meal. Macaroni cheese should not be a side dish.
Some people try to make it the main.
Yes.
So you have the macaroni pie and you have maybe a fish or a chicken or a pork or whatever, but
And some steamed vegetables and salad.
It's a side dish. It's a side dish.
Okay.
But, Margaret, eating all of this, it would affect you.
Yes, yes.
It will affect you.
It will.
Especially if you come from a family where diabetes, hypertension, heart attacks, it will definitely affect you. Now, last year when COVID came, we went into lockdown.
Yes.
Not just St Kitts and Nevis, but all across the world. And what some people did, some people went into reading, some people went into watching TV all day, some people slept all day, and some people ate all day.
Yes.
So you would be home and there is nothing to do. You feel bored.
Yes.
But instead of going to play domino or going to play some game, you eat.
You eat, yes.
And
And get
you
back
don't-
in the bed and watch Netflix.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you get up and you eat again.
Yes.
And you eat again.
Yes.
How do you think that affected people who were, let me say, guilty of doing that?
I mean, on a serious note, it affected a lot of people quite adversely. It affected their mood. Social isolation leads to depression. In older people, it leads to Alzheimer's and other mental health conditions. Combined with the eating and the lack of exercise, we weren't locked down for a very long time. I mean, in other places, the lockdown has been a lot more severe than ours.
Right.
My daughter, for instance, she's been social isolating since February of last year, and she's still social isolating now.
Wow.
Because she has a lot of comorbidities. And she works from home. She exercises. She has a back garden, so she's able to go outside. But in terms of social contact, it's all done on computer, and that affects you a lot. It affects your mental well-being, and there's evidence now to show that depression had increased significantly, especially in that age group between 16 and 35.
Wow.
Because they're your social animals. They're the ones that party.
Yeah,
They're the ones that go to the pubs, go to the clubs. They're on the beach, they're at the bars. To take all of that away and say you can no longer do that, that's when all the disorders kick in. If you've had, a bad relationship with food, then you're leaning towards an eating disorder now. And like I said, those relationships with food start from a child.
But that's very interesting, and I must agree with you, because there were people who were accustomed to, partying every week, and, every event that was held, there was a particular group of people that they had to be there.
Yes.
So when the lockdown came and you were told to just stay home, then I think it affected our people significantly. Now, to link that, because basically some people felt as if they were going crazy.
Yes.
Having to stay home all day, having nothing to do. Link that with staying home and just eating.
Yes.
So, in your mind, you're probably going crazy, and you're eating. That's dangerous.
Yes.
And it may not affect you now.
Yeah.
But maybe next year.
I mean, there was an article in the British Medical Journal, I think it was November last year, looking at the effects that the lockdown had on people in terms of their mental health, in terms of, other physical conditions like diabetes, like hypertension, which had all escalated. So, rightly so, people are all concerned about the transmission of COVID and how it's overwhelming the hospitals. But then these people had nowhere to go, because you can't go to the hospitals because they tell you not to. So people that were suffering from, underlying mental health issues because of the lockdown, because of the constant eating, because of, this feeling of isolation and not being able to go anywhere, really adversely affected them. So now now that some of the lockdowns have been lifted and people are able to then start to go out, they're going to counsellors and their doctors and saying, I don't feel well, and they're not able to pinpoint what the issues are. But the period of lockdown has now made some of their eating habits habitual, which they can't get rid of.
Right.
The snacking all the time, because that's primarily what people were doing. They weren't cooking big meals and just eating.
It was snacks.
Some people were, because it was all over Facebook and TikTok, and that people had just taken to cooking and baking. But then what happened to all of that? You sat and you ate it. So I think that as well as the hospitals being overwhelmed, I think we are going to see a period where counsellors and psychiatrists are going to be overwhelmed as well with dealing with the backlash of the lockdown, and people, actively seeking help to come to terms with depression and some eating disorders.
That's a very interesting observation, Margaret. Many people would say COVID only affected the world directly, meaning if you caught COVID, that was the only negative you got from this entire pandemic.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there were people who lost their minds because they lost their jobs.
Yes.
Lost their minds because they lost their livelihood. And as we said before, people who were accustomed to being out every day, socializing, mixing and mingling with friends and family, and then tomorrow you're here, look, stay home. You can't go out anymore. So, couple years down the road, I think we're going to see this.
Yes.
We're going to see it.
Yes.
And it's going to be something that we would never expect. Or we was like, oh, that's normal. But it's going to be shocking, I believe.
And I think, you know, it's not just those people that were out and about all the time as well. It's like your exercise fanatics as well. I have a sister who's in the gym first thing in the morning, in her lunchtime, and after work, because she has a gym at work. You know, she runs 2 miles every morning. For her, it just sent her crazy. She was like, you know, I need to lift weights. Why can't I go to the gym? So, you know, I mean, in England, it was slightly different because then, you know, she ordered weights and stuff, but she lives in an apartment.
So it was difficult.
So it's difficult. Whereas my daughter, she lives in a house and has a back garden, so she can do laps and run up and down the garden. So some people were very creative in finding ways on how to maintain their physical fitness, I suppose because they had that discipline. But for others who getting up and going to the gym was the discipline that enabled them to exercise, take that away from them. And, you know, there's a lot of evidence to support that physical activity is good for your brain. It's not just for your physical body. It releases hormones, happy hormones, you know, that are really good for your brain and good for your well-being. To take that away from somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, during the lockdown period, you know, I encourage people, you know, go on YouTube, go on all these exercise sites and do stuff with the television.
Right.
But it's, you know, when you're accustomed to getting up and going to the gym, it is then finding that motivation. Because there's a connection between picking up my bag and heading out to the gym.
Right.
Rather than slipping out in my pajamas and standing in front of the television. Different ring.
Yeah, definitely. And interesting too, there were people who were accustomed to getting up, going to the gym, but they had no equipment at home.
Yes.
If you have equipment at home,
It's a little easier.
It's easier. So you have your treadmill and you have, you know, your different equipment. But having no equipment at home, that was a hard blow.
Yeah.
That was a hard blow.
And, you know, people like your cyclists, your runners, you know, their discipline is getting up in the morning, you know, putting on and running or cycling, you know, and when you take all that away from them, that then causes a sort of a mental imbalance because they no longer have that stimulus. And I'm sure a lot of cyclists that cycle on the road will tell you that a stationary bike is very, very different.
You know, Margaret, many different factors can affect mental health.
Yes.
Poor physical health, as we were saying before, living in poverty, and hence it's hard to determine how much diet can affect mental health compared to other factors. What would you say about that?
I think that it's a combination. It's like they're like the building blocks. So, you know, if you're living in poverty, then it's going to be very difficult for you to eat, to actually access healthy food, the fruits and the vegetables. So you use what is available to your pocket. So, and that tends to be things that are less healthy.
Yes.
Your white bread, your white flour items, your heavily processed things, and that affects your mental health because it's what you're feeding your brain. You're feeding your brain all of these toxins. I know the body breaks it down and, you know, the liver gets rid of a lot of it, but it's still there in your system. Poverty itself is depressing. not knowing where your next meal's coming from,
Right.
not knowing how you're going to pay the bills. So that in itself, it can be the catalyst
Right.
to poor mental health. And then the fact that you're not feeding your body correctly. So it's actually, you start off with this small pebble and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because all these factors fall into place that don't make it easy for you to have good mental health.
Very, very interesting. We were having a conversation here on the radio the other day when we were talking about, well, it was along the same line of conversation we're having now, where parents would buy the Cheetos and the biscuits and all of those sweet stuff and processed snacks for their children versus the fresh fruits and vegetables and healthier items. There was one parent who was saying for them, they train their child to eat healthy and to eat more vegetables, to eat more fruits and healthier things. But the argument that was being had was the fact that there are some parents who simply can't afford to buy the fresh vegetables, the fresh fruits, and the healthier food. Because, Margaret, the reality is it's more expensive.
Yeah. The thing is, I get this all the time, that it is expensive to be healthy. It's not. We live in the Caribbean. The name of this island is Fertile Land. Okay?
That's what we alluded to.
No child should not be eating fruit and vegetable here. We have an agricultural department. We need to have more food sustainability.
Yes.
We need to introduce our children from birth to, green bananas, dasheen, yam, eddos, custard apple, the sugar apples, bananas, sour orange, tamarind. Those, and in England, those things, people are craving for those. They're paying a fortune for those. They're paying a fortune for soursop. But we discard it.
Yeah, we throw it away.
And yet it is so nutritious. There is more vitamin C and B vitamins in soursop than there is in an orange that we import. Now, the orange that you import, how long did it take to get here? Where did it come from, first of all?
Good point.
The pesticides and the chemicals, then the forced ripening. That's why they never taste sweet. The benefits of eating locally are so much better than, all the imported foods that you eat. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for them, because there is, because there's some things that we just don't have.
Right.
But, if everybody that, that lives somewhere puts a banana tree up, the banana tree self-propagates itself. So you don't have to do anything to it. When a bunch of bananas comes out and you cut that off, that tree dies and another one sprouts up. Then you have bananas to give to your children. You have green fig to give to them. If you have a mango tree, a breadfruit tree, any kind of fruit tree, once it's a tree, it will naturally take care of itself. So children should have access to fruits.
Right. Margaret, what we were saying was, if you can't afford to buy the fresh vegetables and fruits from the supermarket,
frozen vegetables,
right,
tinned vegetables are just as good. And they cut back on waste. But it's which ones do you buy?
Yeah.
So you buy the vegetables that are packed in water, as opposed to brine, because brine is heavy in salt.
And there's some that are packed in syrup.
Those are your fruit packed in heavy syrup. Yeah, forget those. They're no longer fruit. They're no longer fruit. fruit that's tinned in its natural juice. That's what you need to buy. Frozen fruit, frozen vegetables. You can make smoothies with them. You can make fruit salads with them. You can make, reduce them down in their own juices and, pour it on pancakes in the morning for breakfast. You can do that in advance and just keep it in a jar in the fridge.
Right.
I think that one of the positive things about COVID is that people have experimented more and have now embraced a love for cooking. Not everybody, and I think that's where it starts. We need to get people to embrace a love for cooking. I know that when my grandmother was growing up and when she started going out on her own, she was up at 4 a.m. She cooked food for everybody. Everybody had a meal. A pot of porridge went on. Everybody had breakfast. We don't do that anymore.
No. You get up and you take a shower and you run out the house.
Run out the house, yeah.
And then you grab a soda and a sandwich.
Yes.
And then that's it.
Now, if you grab that sandwich, but you have some lettuce, tomato, and cucumber to shove inside of it, that makes it a little more nutritious. Forget the soda, grab a bottle of water.
Exactly.
If you don't have time to have a cup of tea in the morning, grab a handful of lemongrass as you're heading through, to get the bus, throw it in a cup when you get to work and put some hot water on it.
Yes, definitely.
So, there are ways and means. There are ways and means.
I think that the argument that they're having is that is being had is that, I don't have the time to grow my food, I don't have the time to eat healthy. But I think you really have to make the time.
Yeah. And you have to decide what's important.
You have to make the time. I remember when I visited a doctor's office, there was a quote on the wall that says, you spend your health gaining wealth, and then you spend your wealth trying to regain health.
Yes, that's very true.
So we kill ourselves daily to make the money, but then, 20, 30 years later, you spend all of your money trying to get back the health.
And sometimes less than that, we're seeing younger and younger people present with type 2 diabetes. The diseases that are lifestyle-based, hypertension, type 2 diabetes. Those are lifestyle things that can be changed. Some kidney diseases can be changed. It's a lifestyle. And I always say, if you want to start somewhere in changing your lifestyle, start with your fluid intake. Most of people are walking around dehydrated.
Yeah.
Most people complain of headaches. That could be dehydration. Most people complain of blurred vision. That could be dehydration.
When I'm on my way, because I'm from Nevis, so I'll catch the boat in the morning, Margaret, and this is my water.
Yes.
In those big bottles of water, I would either fill it with the rainwater from the tank at home, or if I miss that, because I may be running late, I would start with the Chinese and buy one for $3. $3, 1, 2, 3. And that would take me up until lunchtime.
Okay.
I'll buy a second one, and it'll take me down to the afternoon. So, for me, I must say I don't eat the best.
Okay.
But I try to drink a lot of water to flush it out.
Yes.
To flush it out.
Yes.
But Sandra, we've been talking for some time. Let us take a short break so we can drink some water and and we will be right back.
Feel the magic happening.
Campari.
Taste. Something incredible happens when Campari is mixed just right. Like Campari and orange juice poured over ice. Taste it. Try it tonight. Bitter, sweeter, better. Campari. Must be 18 years and older. Drink responsibly.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devonne Cornelius, and I am here with Margaret Stevens. She is a clinical dietitian. Very, very interesting conversation we're having here. If you are conscious about your health, if you care about your health, this is a program that you definitely have to listen. If you tuned in late, don't forget we are live on Facebook, so you can check out our Facebook page at WINNMedia SKN, and you can watch it. So if you didn't hear it on the radio, that's fine. You can go back and watch it. So it's 11:49. We're wrapping up the discussion, but we're continuing our discussion. Margaret, as I said, very interesting, and I am definitely benefiting from what is being said here today. I benefited earlier when I was doing my research, with the links between mental health and your diet, and with your presence here, I'm definitely benefiting and learning. I had no idea.
Food is for some people, food is about control. That is where the mental health disorders come in. So your anorexia, your bulimia. Some people have, obsessive compulsive disorders around food and can't have food that touches. There are a lot of mental health issues that happen around food because people see food as an area that they can control. Right. But when you have things like anxiety and depression, that's when food becomes out of control. And the idea is that you use food as comfort, and those comfort foods sort of fall into two categories, either sweet or savoury. And if you're a comfort eater that eats a lot of sweet, then you're taking in a lot of sugar. And unbeknownst to you, that's doing more damage to your depression or your anxiety. So, yeah, there's a lot of correlation. There's been a lot of studies around food and your mood and how food benefits the body and the brain. Because the brain is glucose dependent,
Right.
but it prefers to get it from your complex carbohydrates. So, you know, things like your whole grain foods and your
Right.
pulses and your lentils and things like that, rather than getting it from refined sugar. And I think that people don't actually realize that refined sugar has no nutritional benefit whatsoever. It has no nutrients apart from empty calories, and is stored in your body in that fat that's right underneath your skin, which is so hard to get rid of.
Yeah. But you know, Margaret, there are, I know of some people that they try to have a healthy lifestyle and they try to eat healthy, but they are probably not guided, right? And so they would probably go to the supermarket and they would buy all of these processed things
Yeah.
that you would say it's healthy because it says low fat or
Less sugar.
or, you know, low sodium or whatever. But the reality is it's bad.
And it's processed. Yeah. You know, it's a minefield. You know, the weight management, diet for want of another word, industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You know, and for them to keep their money, it doesn't make sense in giving out correct and accurate messages about food. So it is a minefield. You go online. Where do you start? You know, you're bombarded by food on the television, but no one really tells you what the basics are.
Right.
You know, the basics to a healthy diet is make sure you're having good sources of fluid. What do we class as fluid? Water. And I know there are people out there screaming, "Oh, I don't like the taste of water." Water doesn't have a taste.
It does.
But if you don't like it, you can mask the taste. Add a little lime juice. You know, bruise some mint and throw it in.
Right.
You know, there's a lot that you
I
can
see
do.
people, they usually put fruits into the water.
Yeah,
to give the
infuse
taste.
it. You know, infuse it with fruit, and that's a good way of getting, you know, your fluid in. When you're looking at fruits and vegetables, you want to think of a rainbow. You just want a variety of colour, because if you're having a variety of colour, then you're hitting all the nutrients. If you're looking at starch, make your starch brown, not white. So, you know, those are the key
Yeah.
things. Because if it's brown, it means it's whole grain.
Yeah.
If it's white, it's lacking in fibre, lacking in nutrients.
Very, very, very informative and very interesting. And it's bringing back some of the conversations we were having. We were talking about Black history, and we were talking about slaves and the work that they did. And we were trying to link what they ate then versus what we as blacks eat now. Back then, the slave masters would pack them with a lot of starch to keep them going in the hot sun. In a sense, we pack ourselves with a lot of starch.
But we have a sedentary lifestyle. Most of us walk from our front door to the vehicle, try to park as close to the workplace as possible. jump out of the vehicle into your workplace. If you need to go down the road, jump in your vehicle, drive around and around until you find a parking space close to where you want to be.
Yes.
You know, so we have a very sedentary lifestyle. We have the introduction of motor vehicles. We have, you know, jobs where we're sitting most of the day. You know, so sometimes, you know, you get into your office and you sit at your desk, and getting up to use the bathroom is the only exercise you have until you head through the door to go back home. Then you go back home and, you know, tidy up, eat, shower, get ready for the next day, and go to bed. So our lifestyles have become extremely sedentary. If you think about even if we don't go as far back as slavery, if you think about your great-grandparents, as recent as that, working in cane fields, you know, in the sugar industry,
burning up the stuff.
Yeah, farming, raising cattle. So, you know, they would sit down behind a pot that had in yam, dasheen, eddos, tanya, that was just packed with starch, and not put on an ounce of weight.
Right, because they were working.
Because they were working.
But in 2021, we're eating all of this thing.
Yes.
And we're working.
They are the good starches, but just eating the wrong quantities of them.
Right.
Yeah.
We're close to 12 o'clock, but there was a comment that came in on our WhatsApp number. Very interesting. The comment says to ask you your take on sex and food. There was a time my sex activity came to a stop, and I turned to food. How can one deal with that?
I don't want to say it on the radio. I mean, if you're a very sexual person and you are not self-pleasuring in the absence of a partner, then food is normally the natural thing you turn to, because some foods, especially, you know, things like ice cream, and they satisfy that need for ecstasy, that need for pleasure. Having spoken to sex therapists, exercise gives you the same kind of high. So changing your dependency on food for that pleasure, change that to exercise, because you do get that same high that you get when you orgasm.
Interesting.
And that's a whole different program.
Yeah.
Probably at night time.
Yes.
But yes, there is a big correlation between you know, sex and food and exercise. Yeah.
I hope you're listening. That was very, very good. And you know, maybe that's a discussion for another topic, but very, very interesting. And just before we wrap up, this may be too much, but just before we wrap up, as the comment made reference to sex and food, what you eat, I'm not a doctor, but what you eat affects how you perform sexually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have diabetes, then that's going to affect your sex life.
Yeah.
If you have hypertension, that's going to affect your sex life. And if you eat heavy foods, it's going to affect your performance.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So the healthier you eat, the better it is for you.
Exactly.
Sexually.
Yeah.
So I hope that you're listening. So there were some people who they had to stop in their sexual life because of whatever reason, and they turned to food. But it could be because of what you were eating and consuming why you got to that stumbling block.
Yes.
Margaret, it is 12 o'clock. I'm so sorry we have to wrap up so soon.
It's okay.
But it was a very interesting conversation. And definitely there is so much more to say. I think this comment opened the door for a whole different conversation. But again, thank you for your comment. That person who's anonymous, thank you so much for your comment. Margaret, do you have any final comments?
Just to say that, you know, if you are suffering from depression or anxiety, there is help out there. The help is confidential, and it can be, it can be life-altering. We don't have to frown on mental health or poor mental health because there are reasons for it. And I think that once we start to embrace that we have issues with our mental health, there are people out there that can assist us, like the counselling centre. And I know that there is a psychiatrist at JNF. And if you even suspect that you may have mental health issues, visit your doctor. It's important to address them because they can have long-term effects on you if you don't address them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Margaret, thank you so much for being a part of Voices and providing such informative and useful information. I am confident that we had some listeners and they were taking notes. They were taking notes, even with this question.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a follow-up question or a question to answer something that they really wanted to know about.
Yes.
But let me just say thank you to all of you who participated. Thank you to all of you who joined via the Facebook and YouTube lives. And of course, in our WhatsApp. Margaret, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
My pleasure.
I benefited, the listeners benefited, and we look forward to having you back on our program.
Thank you so much.
You are listening to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I was your host for today, Devonne Cornelius. Stay tuned. We will be back at 12:30, where we will be looking at some segments of Parliament yesterday with the Honourable Prime Minister and other members of the Cabinet. We will be having a discussion on that. So stay tuned. We will be back at 12:30.
Found the sound. 98.9 WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Do I think it will become a requirement for travel? I do think at some point it will, but I think it's going to be a phased approach.
CEO of the St Kitts Tourism Authority, Raquel Brown, said in response to a question about vaccines on the Tuesday, March 1st edition of Leadership Matters. Governments globally have stated that vaccines are not directly mandatory or compulsory, but what is stopping institutions, airlines, and other facets of society from making vaccinations indirectly mandatory? There already exist policies concerning vaccinations for diseases like yellow fever and smallpox when traveling to and from certain countries, and with medical officials advising that the COVID-19 pandemic will be around for some time, vaccinations in order to travel may not be far off. In other avenues, we are seeing suggestions of vaccinations to participate in certain events or allowed in certain spaces being implemented. Other countries have instituted passes or identifiers that allow vaccinated citizens to access certain amenities. In Israel, shopping malls and stores with street access reopened with limitations on crowd size. But gyms, swimming pools, hotels, and some cultural facilities are reopening only to those who have been fully vaccinated and obtained the so-called Green Pass.
With respect to the vaccination cards, or they're now called vaccination passports, becoming a requirement for international travel. That certainly is under discussion in many centers of the world at this particular moment in time. And we know Israel right now is one of the leaders in the build-out of vaccinations around the world.
Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris stated on the possibility of vaccination requirements. The International Air Transport Association also suggested a travel pass, a global and standardized solution to validate and authenticate all country regulations regarding COVID-19 passenger travel requirements, as described on their site. Here at home in St Kitts and Nevis, a recent Facebook post from the St Kitts and Nevis National Carnival Committee posted a flyer for Sugar Mass 50. The poster reads, "Get vaccinated quickly to turn up Sugar Mass 50. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine was reportedly chosen as the vaccine for St Kitts and Nevis because it met a certain criteria. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Dolores Stapleton Harris, explained how the Oxford AstraZeneca met those criteria.
Selecting a vaccine that is cost-effective, safe, and facilitates ease of storage will allow our health system to cover a higher percentage of the population as we aim for individual and community coverage and an appropriate herd immunity threshold. Given the global demand, global hoarding, and the fact that supply has lagged, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has all those characteristics, and we are certainly taking advantage of it.
Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris promises to procure as many vaccines as possible in light of the prolonged presence the COVID-19 pandemic is expected to have. In the latest edition of Leadership Matters on Tuesday, March 2nd, Dr. Harris addressed a question concerning vaccines purchased or procured that may not be used.
The sale of those on which we have made a down payment is not being contemplated by the government. We want to actually reach a position, ultimately, first herd immunity, and then be in a position to vaccinate anyone who enters the country and who is not yet vaccinated. We will do that, of course, as a precautionary measure and also a way of protecting our people who are already in the country from visitors coming in who could otherwise transmit the virus.
Reportedly, all vaccines have a shelf life. AstraZeneca, the vaccine most prevalent in the Caribbean region, has a shelf life of 6 months. If the vaccine is not used within that 6-month period, it would have to be discarded. In Japan, millions of doses of the Pfizer vaccine were discarded by the government because of a shortage of special syringes that maximize the number of shots from each vial. South Africa early in February received 1 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from India. However, according to an article on Reuters, following a study that showed disappointing results against the country's new COVID-19 strain, the rollout was stopped. South Africa then switched to using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because it is administered as a single dose and was approved by the FDA in late February. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been shown to be effective against the variant first identified in South Africa. While on the topic of strains, the Brazilian strain in a report by BBC, a recent study suggested that the Brazilian variant may be resisting antibodies in people who should have some immunity because they have caught and recovered from an earlier version of coronavirus. The strain was originally detected in the Manaus region of Brazil, which was particularly badly affected in the first wave of COVID-19 and was therefore thought to have herd immunity against the virus. But those who had already suffered from the virus and thought to be immune were found reinfected. Based on what the experts are saying, regardless of the rollout of vaccines, guards should not be dropped because of the dynamic nature of this pandemic.
The Magistrates' Code of Procedure Amendment Bill had its second reading in Parliament on Thursday, March 4th, 2021, at a sitting of the National Assembly. The Honourable Vincent Byron, Attorney General and the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, headed the discussions on the bill on Thursday. Attorney General Byron said the bill seeks to confer jurisdiction on the Chief Justice to make criminal procedure rules for the Magistrates' Court.
Mr. Speaker, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court proposed the establishment of the Criminal Division of the Court in St Kitts and Nevis. And I should say that the plan of the Supreme Court, dating back to the early part of this century, just after 2000, 2004 to be exact, was that the court be organized into some 4 divisions. It was intended that the court would have a civil division, a criminal division, a family division, and a commercial division. We in St Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Speaker, are now at the stage where we will move forward with the introduction of the criminal division here in our jurisdiction. This criminal division is intended to provide for the streamlining of procedures within the criminal jurisdiction of the Magistrates' Court as well as the High Courts to facilitate greater efficiency in the criminal justice system.
Attorney General Byron said the introduction of the criminal division is intended to reduce backlogs within the criminal justice system and reduce the time people may have to wait to get a trial.
Criminal procedure rules that are said to be introduced are very significant because they lay the foundation for significant improvement, I dare say transformation, in the way in which the criminal justice system will work in our jurisdiction. 247A, as it is in the current draft, by which we want to amend to 249A, reads, the Chief Justice may make rules of practice regulating proceedings in criminal causes and matters, and in all matters of criminal procedure not provided for by this Act or any other enactment. Mr. Speaker, it was observed from the solution experience that generally the implementation of the criminal division supported the reduction of backlogs in the High Court and at the Magistrates' Courts level. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we anticipate that we too would have a similar experience and would be better able to facilitate the fast tracking of certain issues, taking pressure off the courts, including by creating an environment of specialized judicial capacity.
The Criminal Division Committee is led by His Lordship Justice Trevor Ward QC. The other members of the committee are His Worship Reynold Benjamin, Dr. Henry Brown QC, Simone Gullin Thompson, Solicitor General of the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, Francis Nutang, Deputy Court Administrator from the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Jason Hamilton, former Attorney General of St Kitts and Nevis, Vaughn Woodley, Crown Counsel in the Chamber of the Director of Public Prosecutions, as well as Janine Harris Lake, Registrar of the High Court.
I don't know how soon cruise is going to return.
Said CEO of the St Kitts Tourism Authority, Raquel Brown, answering a question on how soon the Federation will be ready to welcome back cruise ships to our waters. Brown went on to say that everything is dependent on rollout of vaccinations in St Kitts and Nevis, as well as other regional cruise destinations, and the testing period for the cruise line. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the test sailings are a critical piece of the CDC's conditional sailing order. Cruise ships are required to complete a series of trial sailings that test the company's COVID-related protocols in real time. Only after the trials are completed to the CDC's satisfaction will it allow the line to begin revenue cruise operations. Even after the testing period has ended, which is a period of 6 months, according to Brown, cruise destinations will have a hand in whether or not a vessel will dock in their ports.
And the cruise lines have made it clear we must have a unified protocol in place, because you can't have one protocol for one destination and another. So it's going to be a unified approach, but I believe everything is dependent on what happens in our source markets and the rollout of the vaccination.
Brown stated. The revitalizing of the tourism industry seems dependent on the concept of population immunity and protocol consensus between source markets and tourism destinations. However, the procurement of vaccines has been delayed because of a lag in manufacturing, early vaccine hoarding, and doses going to waste because of mismanagement, a lack of medical supplies, or the ever-changing nature of the virus and the constant mutations which has posed vaccination issues in some countries. In spite of this, Brown urges the public to stay positive with regards to the return of a robust cruise tourism industry.
I don't think cruise tourism is dead. I think vaccination, and I will keep saying that and believing in it, is the key for cruise tourism to resume. And the more countries in the Caribbean that have vaccinations at above 70%, we will have successful cruise return to the Caribbean.
Welcome to the Nevis Newscast. I am Freddie Steelibird. 3 to 4 months ago, the Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration became aware that a private individual was claiming to own the Bath Hotel. Legal advisor to the Nevis Island Administration, Helen Ann Lewis, stated that the Cabinet charged her with resolving the issue. On March 4th, Lewis spoke with the Department of Information and gave some background information on the issue.
Based on certain affidavits that I would have been provided with by people who had knowledge of the matter at the time, and that would be dating back to 1987, we made the application to the court and had a hearing date. At the first hearing date, to our surprise, someone purporting to object to the application appeared through a lawyer, and when we challenged, well, in what capacity is that person here, the judge ordered an adjournment for us to make a further submission by way of serving the documents that we had already filed in the court on the company itself, which would mean that we had to go to the registered office of the company, find the people who legally represent the company here in Nevis, serve the documents on them, and give them an opportunity to reply or to appear in the matter. So it was adjourned to the 1st of March, and on Monday the 1st of March, no further objection could have been, or could have been lodged. And the judge, after taking his reviewing the affidavits that we had provided, then made an order that the property should be registered in the name of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, which is the legal entity that holds land on behalf of the NIA.
The legal advisor outlined what the acquisition meant to the people of Nevis.
Culturally, of course, the Bath Hotel is one of the most iconic and legendary properties in Nevis. It has the history of being the first hotel in the Caribbean, and it carries a long cultural significance for the people of Nevis. It would have been a great surprise to many people to find that it would have been owned by any individual or company that was not, in fact, the representative of the people of Nevis, being the government or any other statutory authority. So it's to the extent that somebody thought that they could assert individual ownership rights over the property, it is significant that we were able to have that clarified by the court and have the certificate of title issued on behalf of the people of Nevis in the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation.
The Bath Hotel and Bath Stream are now legally owned by the Nevis Island Administration and, by extension, the people of Nevis.
The hotel sits on a property that is 7 acres, that includes the Bath Stream and the baths. So the certificate of title relates not just to the hotel, but to the 7 acres surrounding it, which includes the stream and the baths as they now appear, as they have been repaired and been used for traditionally by people of Bath and even by people who came from England to visit the hotel, to stay in the hotel and visit the waters at Bath. For people who are my age or older, you will know that the British had a particular way about going to places where there was healthy water. So the sulfur springs at Bath were actually a healing mechanism, and people made treks from Britain to here, coming by boat over how many ever weeks to stay at the hotel. And famous people, poets and actresses and royalty, stayed at the hotel for the purpose of visiting the waters at Bath. So there's a long, long tradition, and it's very important that the people of Nevis be allowed to not only carry on the tradition in peace, knowing that the property is theirs, but also that it's protected from any such nefarious individual claim.
Legal advisor to the Nevis Island Administration, Helen Ann Lewis.
It's Friday, March 5th, and the time for your Barbados 3 morning news update. The private sector is expected to undergo significant restructuring and downsizing for at least the next 24 months, but it could last much longer depending on COVID-19. President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Tricia Tannis, tells Barbados Today that projections of modest growth may not be a true depiction of the reality on the ground. Coming out of last year's COVID-19 lockdown, economists predicted that it would take no less than 2 years for the business sector to recover. And while the BCCI has not fully assessed the long-term impact of the current shutdown, the preliminary outlook is bleak.
No, we're still looking pretty much at least another, 2-year time frame before we can begin to start to see genuine organic growth. And I emphasize that because what we're having is projections of a modest growth year on year. And of course, when you have a year like 2020 where there's a huge decline, anything registers as a growth. But what we really want to see is the economy return to pre-COVID-19 levels of buoyancy before we can really start talking about growth. What we can start talking about is recovery. I must not confuse recovery with growth necessarily in the same context. Because if you have hit rock bottom, anything is growth. Yeah. So really and truly to have a meaningful conversation or dialogue, we really want to be talking about recovery to the point that we were before COVID. And certainly that's going to take at least another 24 months.
Tannis says not even the current reopening of some businesses could spare the country from private sector layoffs.
It means that companies are still going to be going through periods of restructuring, right-sizing, some, yes, downsizing. I believe that's going to continue. We saw that and it started in a fairly significant way in 2020, but you are going to see that continuing and deepening as a result of this current lockdown, which would have dealt another blow to any business recovery efforts. Being second lockdown in less than a year, we all know why, we understand the context, but at the end of the day, the reality is, and the consequences, are also there as well.
Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. Stocks opened mixed this morning after a better-than-expected jobs report. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped about 120 points in early trading.
U.S. employers added 379,000 jobs last month. That's more than most forecasters were expecting, and more than double the job gains we saw in January. Bars and restaurants added 286,000 workers as COVID restrictions were gradually relaxed around the country. Factories and retailers were also hiring. Those gains were partially offset by job losses in construction and state and local government. Even with the solid job gains in February, there are 9.5 million fewer workers on company payrolls now than there were before the pandemic. Forecasters look for job growth to accelerate in the months to come as the public health picture improves and additional federal relief payments make their way into people's pockets. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
The Senate is continuing to debate the nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief bill. It passed a procedural vote yesterday when Vice President Harris broke a tie vote. Democrats hope to pass the legislation by next week and send it to President Biden. NPR has confirmed the Biden administration is planning to convert some of its migrant family detention centers into processing centers. NPR's Franco Ordonez says the objective is to get migrant parents and children released within 72 hours of arrival.
Peter Shea, the lawyer for the class of children at the family detention centers, said he is cautiously optimistic about the plans.
We are happy with developments under the administration to the extent that it appears they're moving towards releasing families together.
The idea is to convert 2 of the U.S. government family detention centers in Karnes and Dilley, Texas, where asylum applicants would receive full health screenings and background checks before being released with a court date.
NPR's Franco Ordonez reporting. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's administration is confirming top aides altered a report on nursing home deaths, but officials insist there was no effort to hide the true number of deaths from the public. NPR's Brian Mann reports.
Cuomo faces a maelstrom of scandals, including claims he made inappropriate sexual advances and accusations his team deliberately withheld accurate nursing home death data. In explosive reports, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal detail how Cuomo's top aides altered a key document last summer that would have disclosed a higher tally of nursing home seniors who died from COVID-19. New York's health department issued a statement acknowledging those changes were made. Spokesman Gary Holmes said the more accurate information was withheld because Cuomo's team, quote, was not satisfied the data had been verified. The Cuomo administration now acknowledges more than 15,000 nursing home residents have died so far during the pandemic. Brian Mann, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 150 points at 31,074. This is NPR News. Pope Francis has arrived in Iraq. He's the first pontiff to officially visit the country. Francis is meeting the Iraqi prime minister at the airport in Baghdad. Today he'll deliver a speech at an Iraqi church. The Pope is making the trip to Iraq despite concerns about the pandemic and attacks by militants on U.S. and Iraqi positions. China's legislature convenes today for a once-a-year meeting. Members are weighing whether to overhaul Hong Kong's electoral system. NPR's Emily Fang reports this would give China near total control over Hong Kong's legislative council and top leadership position.
In November 2019, pro-democratic forces won control of nearly all Hong Kong district councils in a landslide election. That spooked Beijing, which is now moving to increase the number of Beijing appointees in Hong Kong's legislature and election committee. Hong Kong's Legislative Council is already designed to lean pro-Beijing, and Beijing approves all chief executive candidates. And Beijing has effectively eliminated any remaining legislative opposition in Hong Kong. This week, 47 people who helped organize an informal primary poll last July were charged with subversion under a national security law. All but 15 were denied bail before their trial in May. Emily Fang, NPR News, Beijing.
Reports from Saudi Arabia say a Saudi military coalition has destroyed several incoming armed drones. Houthi rebels in Yemen have attacked Saudi territory several times this week using drones and missiles. Both sides have also been fighting for control in Yemen. The rebels have recently escalated their attacks in Saudi Arabia. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News.
This is the news in brief from the United Nations. At least 20 people have drowned after smugglers threw dozens of migrants overboard as they sailed from Djibouti to Yemen, UN migration agency IOM said on Thursday. This is the third such incident in the Gulf of Aden in the last 6 months, according to the IOM, which said that survivors are receiving medical treatment in the port town of Obok in Djibouti. At least 200 migrants, including children, were crowded onto the vessel when it departed, according to reports. 30 minutes into the journey, smugglers forced around 80 people into the sea. 5 bodies have already been recovered. Every year, tens of thousands of mainly young East African migrants make the dangerous journey from countries such as Somalia and Ethiopia to Djibouti, and then on to Yemen in search of work in Gulf countries. Institutional suspicion and fear of Muslims and those perceived to be Muslim has escalated to epidemic proportions, the Human Rights Council heard on Thursday. Addressing the Council in Geneva, UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief, Ahmed Shahid, said that numerous states, regional and international bodies were to blame. In a report to the Council, he cited European surveys in 2018 and 19 that showed that nearly 4 in 10 people held unfavourable views about Muslims. In 2017, 30% of Americans viewed Muslims in a negative light, the Special Rapporteur added. He said that states had responded to security threats by adopting measures which disproportionately target Muslims and define Muslims as both high risk and at risk of radicalisation. Mr. Shahid noted that these developments followed the 9/11 terrorist attacks and other acts of terrorism purportedly carried out in the name of Islam. The result of this Islamophobia was misconceptions about Muslims that were used to justify state-sponsored discrimination, hostility and violence against them, said the rights expert. He added that this climate of exclusion, fear and distrust had left many Muslims reporting that they often feel stigma, shame and a sense that they are suspect communities that are being forced to bear collective responsibility for the actions of a small minority. Finally, a mental health alert for hundreds of millions of children now, issued by UN Children's Fund UNICEF. Based on new research, it said on Thursday that more than 330 million youngsters have been stuck at home for at least 9 months since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, owing to COVID-19 lockdowns. This has left them feeling isolated and anxious about their future, UNICEF said. Here's spokesperson James Elder.
Tens and tens of millions of youngsters have been left feeling isolated and afraid and lonely and anxious because of these enforced lockdowns and isolations that come as a result of this pandemic. So we've got to emerge from this pandemic with a better approach to child and adolescent mental health. And that probably starts just by giving the issue the attention it deserves.
Half of all mental disorders develop before the age of 15, according to UNICEF, and the majority of the 800,000 people who die by suicide annually are under 18. The UN agency said that the pandemic has disrupted or halted critical mental health services in 93% of countries worldwide. To respond to growing needs, it has offered support to governments and partners to prioritise services for children. In Kazakhstan, this has led to the launch of a UNICEF platform for individual online counselling services, alongside distance training in schools for mental health specialists. In China, the agency has also worked with social media company Kuaishou to produce an online challenge to help reduce anxiety in children. Daniel Johnson, UN News.
That was the WINN FM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Caribbean.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
For an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devonne Cornelius, and we are back. Let me say thank you to all of you who made the first segment possible. And again, thank you to our guest, Margaret Stevens. She is a clinical dietitian, and she was providing some professional advice and some professional advice and information about how one could live and have, a healthy lifestyle, talking about what you eat and how it affects you. As I said before, we will be focusing this afternoon on some aspects or some of the happenings in Parliament yesterday, or basically just some of the things that were mentioned in Parliament yesterday. And we will be taking a look at that. The Prime Minister provided some specific numbers as it relates to vaccine. We have a caller on the line. Let us take this call. We seem to have lost that call. Caller, you can call us back. Remember the numbers to call are 466-0989, 762 and 662, as well as our WhatsApp number at 662-2204. You can send us a comment. You can send us a voice message. So if you don't want to call in on the regular line, you can send us a voice message and we can have it played. The caller is back. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Greetings. Thanks for taking our call. Before you proceed with the second half, give thanks for the first half. All the information flowed. Thanksgiving,
No problem, man. You're welcome.
It's all about when we get right down to it, being in the land of the living, which is a priceless blessing. Next come to that is good health, It's very, 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 very up there, and speaking poverty in the midst of that, and when we look at poverty, and what it, us as a people, I'm speaking about my race, especially us who are dispersed up to the time. We know a story that has left us, the mass of us, traumatized. Whether we acknowledge it, yes or not, and the traumatization goes right. It's manifesting in all forms and fashion, too much to mention. And on top of that, poverty, and let us know the pangs of poverty. Wow, it is so detriment. And when we look at us as a people, talking about poverty, and we look at the class system that we are part of, and economics, the other side of poverty, is what dictates the class system. You have a class system of three. You have the upper class, who monopolize and control the vast, and you have the middle class that benefits from whatever, and you have the lower class that wallow in poverty. Economics dictate the class system. So we have a lot of revolutionizing on our hands, and we are calling upon generation to come, generation now and generations to come, unborn, to make sure that the revolutionizing go on, so that there won't be a doom. Blessed love.
Thank you so much, caller, for your input. Let me say good afternoon to all of our listeners. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of Voices today. Continue to have a very fantastic Friday. So we're talking about some of the... We have another call on the line before I continue. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on our program.
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. You're live on Voices.
Now I guess the topic is around as just like poverty as an something that spoke of in Parliament.
Pardon?
Right? Now, so the topic that you want to speak of this afternoon surrounding poverty and the economic situation in our country.
No.
And as well as the issues, some of the issues raised in Parliament.
Basically, it's about the statistics that were provided in regards to people that were vaccinated, and in terms of a statement from the Prime Minister regarding the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But is there something that you would like to add?
Well, basically, the vaccine actually is a form of the virus they put in you for your body to build up a resistance. That's everything else. Right. You know that?
Yes.
Right. So at the end of the day, it is the body itself that's actually healing itself. So it is still advisable to take the vaccine, because if the body is not doing it naturally, and if you're not doing things to maintain and develop a strong immune system, you should get something to boost the immune system. Because over the years that have been happening, you know, when you're born and before you go to high school, you go for all, and leave school, you go for all these vaccines to help you. It's something like that.
Yes.
However, at the end of the day, persons who believe the immune system is not strong at this time, it's advisable to go and take it if you know certain things. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry. And I would advise and encourage persons to take it. Those of you who want to wait out until you must, that's when you have to travel or do something, right? So be it. But for those persons who are, as they would say, not in a better position to resist the virus, I would advise them to take it. Right. Now, I know certain part mentioned about the legal system as well, some changes to it. It was not on this program, so to speak, but there was an issue that's going on with the DPP. But you know what DPP means, right?
Yes, I do. Director of Public Prosecutions.
Right, so therefore he's prosecuting public matters, matters that affect or concern the public. The attorney general deals with the cases for the government. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. Whether or not it's done in practice is a complete process. And the Solicitor General deal with more or less say other civil matters and so on for the government. But anybody who come up with a case, they could go to the Director of Public Prosecution, especially if it is even if it's a case against the government, the Director of Public Prosecution is supposed to know if there's a case to be brought, because that's what it does when the police charge someone. It's there to make sure, to guide and direct the police. If the charge that they're charging the person with is the correct charge, and it's the one that can bring about the desired result that it's supposed to be, according to the charge. I just want to say that and leave it there, because sometimes certain things are said, and some persons wouldn't fully understand, and sometimes persons who should know more wouldn't really call him to correct or to let persons understand the final working of this. But the Director of Public Prosecution, anything that affects the public. So when you get a cut, it's a public matter. But you report to the police, and the police take a criminal matter. And therefore, if the Director of Public Prosecution office, based on what it is, they could go through that system. But I know the police have their own prosecutors as well. But especially when you have injurious things that concern the public at large, that's where the case is supposed to make sure all the, as they said, dots are dotted and T's are crossed, right?
Yes.
And that's what the office is for. And so it was just to bring that out, because a lot of persons see and hear, but sometimes do not understand. The police do not make any laws as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of persons believe that, but just like what you listened yesterday in Parliament, is the parliamentarians come up with the laws and the police enforce those laws. the thing to clear up for persons because there's that misconception sometimes. Along with poverty, if we do not be careful, even measures that we put in place, just as the brother spoke to a while before me, our own system could make more of our persons, our citizens, go in poverty as opposed to take them out of poverty. And I will stay there because sometimes a vicious cycle comes around, and if we do not be careful, that cycle will come back harder because we advance, and things that could have been easier had is no longer easy had in today's time. Time is the measure and have the answer for a lot of things that are happening now. Only time will tell what is happening. Thank you very much. Have a blessed one.
And thank you so much, caller, for your input. We're going to close the phone lines for a short bit. Let me just jump shot this discussion, and then I'll open back for you to be a part of the discussion. Definitely remember our WhatsApp number is 662-2204, 662-2204. We will be taking your comments and your participation via that number. Also, we are live on Facebook at WINNMediaSKN.com, and we are live on our website, WINNMediaSKN.com. Sorry, Facebook is WINNMediaSKN, and the website is WINNMediaSKN.com. We also live on YouTube, so you can check us out on those platforms. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Now, it was just some clarification as it relates to the vaccines that are being made available, or vaccine that is being made available to the people of St Kitts and Nevis. With regards to how many people were vaccinated, the Prime Minister provided some numbers for the Federation as at Wednesday this week, and we, according to the CMO, we are now at about 6.3% of the population that have been vaccinated. So slowly but surely, people are going out and people are getting their vaccine, and people are really, taking that responsibility. Some persons have, they're a bit uncertain. They're not sure, but they're going out and they make sure that they seek the proper information, and they're going out to get vaccinated. Some have taken that decision to say, I'll wait a while, I'll do some research, and then I'll make that decision. Some are satisfied with the information that has been made available, and they took that decision to go out and get vaccinated. Kudos to you, and congratulations for making that bold step. We will hear a clip from the Prime Minister, and he gave some numbers as it relates to how many persons were vaccinated, St Kitts and Nevis, and information about the vaccine. But in this first clip, he will give a short breakdown of the numbers as of Wednesday of this week.
And in this regard, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the clerk and the other members of the National Assembly, including the member for St. Christopher, one, who participated, I'm advised, and the two in the vaccination rollout. Mr. Speaker, the first week of the rollout closed with 621 persons being vaccinated. The second week, which started this Monday, seemed to have gotten off with a bang. And I'm advised that on Wednesday this week, according to the preliminary count, roughly 730 persons, about 212 on the island of Nevis and 518 on St Kitts, turn up to get vaccinated. This is the largest number of persons on any single day to have been vaccinated. And we hope that we can sustain this high number of participation. I feel also a sense of satisfaction that in some of the new centers which we have added, for example, Molyneux Health Center, they had a significant turnout. And the Tabernacle Health Center, where last Friday we had 10 persons, Wednesday they more than doubled that, and they reached the 24. So it shows, Mr. Speaker, that by and large the message is going out and more people are doing the right thing. By the end of day yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we had an impressive 2,095 persons who were vaccinated, representing about 6% of the critical age cohort between 18 and 80 years, which comprised 33,236 persons according to the 2011 census. So within the short of 2 weeks, 6% of the critical age cohort has gone to be vaccinated. This certainly is excellent going, and we would wish to sustain the momentum.
That was the Prime Minister providing some numbers on the vaccine rollout in both St Kitts and Nevis. Now, there has been some chatter on Facebook as it relates to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and some people have been saying that they prefer to take that vaccine, as they're saying it has a higher efficacy rate, and they feel more comfortable and safe taking that vaccine. However, I would want for you to listen to this clip from the Prime Minister at yesterday's sitting of Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, it's important for our people to be aware that while there are many vaccines out there are only a few vaccines that are WHO approved. I want to repeat. There are many vaccines out there, but there are only a few which are WHO, World Health Organization approved. The World Health Organization is like the platinum standard on the efficacy and effectiveness of vaccines. The World Health Organization has only approved the Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca vaccines at this stage. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, though showing good promise in clinical trials, has not yet been approved by the World Health Organization. Here in St Kitts and Nevis, I indicated to our CARICOM heads at our last heads meeting that St Kitts and Nevis will not use vaccines that are not WHO approved, because that is the goal or the platinum standard. We believe that vaccines should meet the robust and rigorous standards of approval inherent in the WHO endorsement. This, of course, is consistent with our Life First strategy. AstraZeneca is the main vaccine available to the CARICOM member states. It is highly efficacious, and beyond the efficacy, its effectiveness has been proven.
That was the Prime Minister providing some clarification on the vaccines that have been approved by the World Health Organization, and basically saying that we will not be using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. No, we are using the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. We will take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors, and when we return, we'll open up this in discussion.
Get Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horseroads Building Center in St Kitts and Nevis. Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I'm going to open the phone lines to welcome your calls for us to have a conversation on this. There has been a lot of chatter since the vaccines got here, and mixed views and opinions and, mixed feelings about the vaccine. And some persons have said that they will not take it at all. Some have said that they're going to wait a while, which is fair. And some went and took advantage of it as soon as possible. So there has been a lot of chatter as it relates to the vaccine. But I was alluding to something at the last program we had, where there has been a lot of politics around the vaccine. And people playing politics with the vaccine, and it's very disappointing. It's very, very disappointing. And looking at what's happening and, going through Facebook and the different social media platforms, people are putting politics in this thing, and there's no room for politics. As I have said before, the vaccine does not know which party you support. The vaccine does not know whether it is this person as the prime minister or that person as the prime minister. But we have to understand that this is a global health crisis. It's not just St Kitts and Nevis or in the region. So for you to say you're not going to take it mainly because your government is not in power, or you're taking it because your government is in power, is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I am making a call for people to really remove the politics from this whole COVID situation that we are experiencing with regards to the vaccine, and to use your common sense and to be responsible, to really, really be responsible, and not get caught up in mediocrity and things that are not worth it. Again, you can participate in this discussion by sending us a WhatsApp at 662-2204. You can also call us at 466-0989, 762 and 662. Again, the WhatsApp number is 662-2204. Remember, you can also send us a voice note, just like a regular WhatsApp, on that number. So that has been the talk over the past couple of days with regards to people getting their vaccine and those that are employed in the tourism sector. And they have said that this will allow us to get back to a state of normalcy. We have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Cornelius.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
All right. I have a question for you. I don't know if you might be able to answer it. Which one of the vaccine we are paying for?
Which brand of the vaccine we're paying for?
Uh-huh.
Well, we have the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that was made available to us
That's not the question.
through. Hold on. I'm telling you the vaccine that we have now. I don't know anything about
which one are we paying for?
I don't know anything about the vaccine that we're paying for. I'm telling you the vaccine that we have now was provided through the Commonwealth of Dominica from India. I don't know that we're paying for any vaccine. Are you aware of any vaccine that we're paying for?
Well, I think during the news media, I'm supposed to be educating the public. Have a good day.
I had to laugh, boy. Sometimes I have to really laugh at oh boy. We in St Kitts and Nevis, we have the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. That is what we have. Caller, if you know what vaccine we paid for, please call us back and educate the public about what vaccine we paid for. Or you can send us a WhatsApp, 662-2204, and educate us as to what vaccine we paid for. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Good afternoon, caller. You're live on Voices.
Okay, good afternoon, man. Basically, the caller that just hung up or whatever, I believe that he might have been trying to allude to money, the cost, and he probably just wanted to get some type of transparency as to how the down payment money that the Prime Minister says he made to get him this vaccine. You know, that's maybe he might have been going towards transparency. He maybe wants to get some transparency. He wants to get some questions answered. You know, I just kind of want to maybe piggyback a little bit off of him. And, you know, first of all, there was a down payment made for vaccines, some 800,000 plus. I don't know if that was EC or US dollars. For me, what I would want to know is that down payment money gone and never going to, the government of St Kitts and Nevis, would they ever get a refund? Meaning that, you know, when you look at the details, they want to achieve this thing they call herd immunity. The population in St Kitts and Nevis is only, 55,000 between both islands? And they said that the cost of the AstraZeneca vaccine was $4 to $5 per dose. So when you do the mathematics, we trying to figure out, after they achieve herd immunity, if there would be some type of refund made if all of the money that was made on the down payment was not used up. So is there any way you can attest to that or get that information? Because I believe that this is the information that people who's worried about money, this is the type of information they're trying to abstract. So can you address that by any chance, please? Thanks, man.
Thank you, caller, so much for your input, and thank you for being a part of our program. Now, the government took a decision, or the necessary steps. This is I am referring to an article that was published by the St Kitts and Nevis Times. The government of St Kitts and Nevis, the St Kitts and Nevis Information Service, sorry. The government of St Kitts and Nevis. Before I continue, let me take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Hey, good afternoon, Devonne.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I know you're giving God thanks, you know.
Great.
I want to give God thanks for my birthday coming up on Sunday.
Nice.
Now, I listened to a report by the head of the OECS Secretariat, Mr. Didicus Jules. You heard that one?
From who, sorry?
The The head of the OECS secretariat.
Okay. Go ahead.
Didicus Jules, maybe if you go on the secretariat, you'll see it, where he was saying that St. Kitts, I think, is the only one of the COVAX countries who have fully paid up for the vaccines they expect to get. Now, what they have now, they got free. And if you divide that, remember two doses, eh? 2 doses are required. That only cover 11,000 people. Just do the maths. Therefore, the others that they expect to get, they have to buy it. They were saying they were also trying to get other agencies and so to contribute more funds so that they could get enough. Because if you're heading for 33, just say they want the whole thing. Say 40 is more like 50,000. You need 100,000, eh? Take out the 11 you have from the 100. How much you have left? So, the money has been paid. That's what the man confirmed. The head of the OECF. I think they said they expect to get 21,000 again sometime soon.
I think in a couple of days or weeks.
Huh?
I think it's in a couple of days or some weeks.
Paid for. Because remember that they're buying in bulk, you know. And he read a whole long list of countries. I didn't even realize there were so many countries under the COVAX. So I don't know if they're going to help to cover costs for each other. But what they have now, they got free. And the transportation cost, because that may also be included in part of the money. Because when he said that they paid what? Almost 250,000 US to bring these things from India to, say, Lucia.
Right.
So are we looking at more than just the cost of the vaccine? Are we looking at for the cost plus transportation? Those are the questions. So those who are asking, go on the OECS Secretariat website and see. Call the ministry, call the Minister of Health and ask the questions. Because there is the suggestion that their money is being misused. And as far as I understand, the money is not in the possession of the government. It is in the possession of the OECS Secretariat. If I am wrong, somebody correct me. All right then. But before I go, let me say tomorrow would be Lee Graham's birthday. I want to wish him a happy birthday. And a lot of people's birthday coming up. Over the weekend, happy birthday to all of you. All right then. So, OECS Secretariat website. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation, Mrs. Henry. We are still taking your calls here on Voices on WINN FM 98.9. Remember the numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662. We have another call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon. You're live on Voices.
Yeah, good afternoon again. Cornelius, I don't want you to misinterpret me.
We seem to have lost that call. Caller, you can call us back at 466-0989-762 and 662. Also, we have our WhatsApp number at 662-2204. Now, we have another call. Good afternoon, caller. You're live on our program.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey.
The call just dropped.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, what I was trying to ask earlier, and I wanted to listen to me carefully, and I want the public to listen to me carefully. I'm not talking no politics. I don't want to know where no money go. What I'm saying, I heard one of the ladies from the Ministry of Health is saying the reason why they're going to use this one is because of the storage, the cost, and everything. I have no problem with that. What I'm concerned about, if the one that they already made a down payment on, whether this government, the OECS, whosoever, what brand it is and what quality, if it's better than this one that they have, so I should make a decision before this one run out. It's simpler question. So listening to the news this morning, yesterday evening, and listening to the Prime Minister, is forcing me now to ask questions to make a decision. It's simple that I want to know. Because if he's saying with the Johnson & Johnson not approved by the WHO and this other one and this other one, I all want to know which one we expecting that we paid for. And that's all I'm asking. Which one we paid for? If you understand what I'm asking?
Right.
Okay, good. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much for your input, caller. Now, as I was saying, the Prime Minister on back in Parliament last year, it was sometime around October, he spoke about the plan for St Kitts and Nevis to participate in the COVID-19 vaccines global access facility called the COVAX facility. And just to clarify, that provides an opportunity for member states to benefit from a portfolio of vaccine candidates using a range of technology platforms produced by manufacturers across the world. So you're in the COVAX facility, and it allows us to benefit from the vaccines that are being made available. Now, countries participating in the COVAX facility will have access to doses of vaccine as a result of the advanced purchase commitments that the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunizations, Gavi, will conclude with vaccine manufacturers. The full down payment was the government submitted the signed commitment agreement with the Gavi on September 18 of last year, 2020, and then confirmed the country's participation in the COVAX facility. The full down payment of $223,660 US became due on October 9th of last year, and the CARPHA, which is the Caribbean Public Health Agency, consented to pay $96,163 on behalf of the Federation. And then the government has paid the balance of $127,497 on the due date. So the full down payment amount of $223,660 became due on October 9th of last year. The CARPHA consented to pay $96,163 on behalf of the Federation, and the government has paid the balance of $127,497. The Prime Minister said that in thinking ahead and understanding the landscape, with COVID, they have invested just under 600,000 EC dollars to participate in the global facility, COVAX, to make the vaccine available to the people of St Kitts and Nevis. The Prime Minister said his government will continue to do all the necessary to keep, COVID, keep us safe from COVID. So St Kitts and Nevis is participating in the COVAX facility. However, it was not disclosed as to what vaccine, or the information is not here as to what vaccine specifically we will be getting with the COVAX facility. However, the vaccine we have now is through a donation from India. We have a call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live. Oh, we seem to have lost that call. We have another call. Oh, we're losing the calls. So sorry about that. Call us back at 466-0989-762 and 662. We have any calls? We have a call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Voices.
Hello. Hello. Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ. You only save the sinners and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, I've been reading something on the World Health Organization website, and they have an article entitled "The Oxford / AstraZeneca COVID-19 Vaccine: What You Need to Know." That's the name of the article on their website, and there's a subsection in the article. It's named "Is It Safe?" And to me, the language they're using is very guarded. For example, it says, while this vaccine has yet to be recommended for an emergency use listing by WHO, it has undergone review by the European Medicines Agency, EMA, and consequently meets WHO's criteria for sage consideration. What does that mean? You know, I don't know what that means. That seems to me to be very guarded language. It also goes on to say that the EMA has thoroughly assessed the data on the quality, safety, and efficacy of the vaccine and has recommended granting a conditional marketing authorization for people age 18 and above. What does that mean? I don't know. Seems to me to be very guarded language. So these are things that should be properly explained. And lastly, it goes on to say, the Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety, a group of experts that provides independent and authoritative guidance to the WHO on the topic of safe vaccine use, receives and assesses reports of suspected events, safety events of potential international impact. That ain't really telling me nothing concerning the safety of this particular vaccine. Just tell me what this group does. But they ain't tell me the judgment on this. So here I am reading this article by the WHO, and they seem to be using very guarded...
By the what? Sorry?
By the WHO, WHO, World Health Organization. So here am I reading an article on their website, and they seem to be used, and really subsection, is it safe? In that subsection, they seem to be using very guarded language. I think that should be properly explained, you know, and find out what's going on there with this language. What are they really saying? You know, because it seemed to me to be very vague. You know, and not only that, but this vaccine thing has been very controversial in other areas as well. So some people, I've heard people say that they're not going to take it, but I've never heard anybody say they're not going to take it on political grounds. I've heard people say that they're not going to take it based upon safety reasons. I've heard other people say that they're going to take it based upon safety reasons as well. But I've never heard anybody saying that they ain't going to take it because of who in power from who ain't in power, you know. So, but I just called in to make this contribution to the program, and something that I would really like to explain. Someone who knows better, if they could really explain this properly. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, caller, for your input. And just to provide some more clarity with regards to the down payment that the previous caller was referring to, that $600,000 came from the Republic of China and Taiwan. The money is to be used to help the Federation procure COVID-19 vaccines once they become available, of course, through the COVAX facility. St Kitts and Nevis has already made a down payment of $800,000 to COVAX to obtain vaccines to cover 20% of the population. But just to stress that that those that we have now, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is through a donation from India. It is 25 minutes past the hour. We are winding down. We are still taking your calls. We'll just take a few more calls and we will wrap up our program today. Thank you so much for making Voices possible. Thank you for your calls, your questions, and thank you for your participation To those of you who are on our Facebook Live and YouTube live streams and our other social media platforms, thank you so much for joining, and thank you again for your calls. This is WINN FM 98.9 with another edition of Voices. We have been having a conversation about the vaccines and people taking the vaccine versus not taking the vaccine. Some have said they will not take it. Some have decided that they'll wait. And that is their judgment to me. That is their opinion. That is how they feel they should approach, this situation. But I would just encourage you, when you feel that you're ready, you take the vaccine. I can't force you to say take it. No. But when you feel that you're ready, that's the most I can say. You feel that you're ready, you go and you get vaccinated against the coronavirus disease. A very interesting conversation that we're having. It is 4 minutes to the hour. If we have no calls, we will begin wrapping up. And again, let me say thank you to all of you who made Voices possible. We will be back tomorrow for Inside the News. Tomorrow's Inside the News will be rather interesting and very exciting. We will be having the Chamber of Industry and Commerce for the first hour, and then we will have the Regional Vice President and General Manager of the Four Seasons Resort Nevis in for a very exclusive interview, and we will have the Director of Guest Experiences, Mr. Mackie France. So, and this is all happening on the occasion or in commemoration of the Four Seasons Resort Nevis 30th anniversary. They celebrated on February 14th of that's last month, and so we'll be having them in our studios tomorrow to have a conversation. They made the headlines. They made the headlines that week where they honored and showed appreciation to some of their employees, those who were Employee of the Year, and those who began working for the resort 30 years ago. And so we will be having a very exciting conversation with the Four Seasons family tomorrow. Their general manager, Mrs. Yvette Thomas Henry, who is of Kittitian heritage, and Mackie France from Nevis. He is the Director of Guest Experiences. This was another edition of Voices. Thank you guys so much for your participation. I always look forward to it. Until next time, stay safe. Have a fantastic Friday. Wash your hands, wear your mask, and continue to practice those non-pharmaceutical measures to keep yourself and your family safe from the coronavirus. Give thanks for life, and be glad that you're in the land of the living. Until next time, have a good one.
Horse Roads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horse Roads Building and Nevis